I found something very fascinating when just, doing what I do with my free time, which is look through random NFL stats. And it's Justin Herbert has a weird flaw in his game. Let's look at this chart. So just so you know what you're looking at, so basically the left column, that's how far down the field he's throwing the ball. So 20 yards down the field or more, 10 to 19 yards down the field, 0 through 9 yards down the field, or behind the line of scrimmage. The other two columns are going to be his PFF grade when he throws the ball that distance and passer rating when throwing the ball that distance. I wanted to get sort of an objective measurement, which is a PFF grade, and then kind of just what actually is happening, which is the passer rating grade. And you see 20 yards down the field, he's fantastic. Fifth best rated player according to PFF, and the first best in terms of passer rating. So they're having a lot of success throwing the ball 20 plus yards down the field. The weird question comes in is 10 through 19 yards down the field. He drops to 20th in terms of PFF grade, and he's 27th in terms of passer rating. Now, 0 through 9 yards, it goes a lot back up, 6th in PFF grade and 12th in passer rating, and then behind the line of scrimmage, which I kind of imagine is mostly just luck, but he does pretty well there as well. So what's the deal with 10 through 19 yards down the field? I started watching tape with that in mind, just wondering, okay, yeah, what is going on with that? And I immediately saw some really impressive throws towards the sidelines at around that distance. So just, the second I started watching tape with this in mind. So I figured, wait, so then how is this the case? And so what I decided to do was look at his chart in terms of where he's throwing the ball, not just in terms of distance, but also in terms of sideline to sideline, or if it's in between the sidelines. This is what I saw. I've highlighted one, I've turned one black just to make it clearer. That's the one I'm talking about. Right into dead center, he's by far and away the worst. I mean, which is odd, right? His passer rating is 54.2. You look over to the left, his passer rating goes up to 132.6, and even to the right, it's 71.4, which isn't great, but that's still a pretty significant jump. Deep down the field, he's fantastic. Even deep down the field over the middle, he's perfect. And then everything else is, very good across the board. Also, if you're interested in knowing where I got this, it's all through Pro Football Focus. So what's going on? I mean, for one thing, I kind of don't think it's crazy to think that that could be an area where guys do have some trouble. I don't know the numbers on it. I would assume there's plenty of quarterbacks who are better towards the sidelines over the middle of the field than directly over the middle of the field, including in between the numbers. That would be my guess, just simply because oftentimes teams will have like linebackers drop back into coverage right in that area. So there being some drop-off isn't that crazy, but it being that big of a drop-off is surprising to me. So what is it? Could it just be luck? Maybe. It could just be luck. It could just be a random variance, but I wanted to dig in and see more and figure out if there's actually some reason behind it. My first hypothesis was maybe they don't run play action much, and that's why they struggle. But you look at that, and that's not the case either. They actually run play action 11th most in the NFL, and they do well with play action. So it's not a lack of play action, because typically when you run play action, it's that area of the field that you're going to be throwing to. So again, what is it? Well, one fascinating thing is, despite the fact that Herbert is amazing at throwing the ball down the field, literally the best in football, the Chargers don't do that often. These are his numbers this is simply where he ranks in the NFL for attempts in each category. Despite the fact that he's great at throwing the ball down the field, they finished 23rd in throwing the ball down the field, the Chargers do. Whereas in the middle stuff, it's 5th. That's the area he's struggled with, and he throws it the 5th most in the NFL in those areas. He throws it the most in the 0 through 9 range, and then kind of, middle of the road behind the line of scrimmage. So clearly, I mean, this is one of the biggest reasons why I say that teams should have analytics departments and pay attention to them, because you can learn this stuff and say, hey, we got to start pushing the ball down the field more. And the flip side is you could make the argument, well, maybe teams are protecting deep down the field more because they know that this is coming. But then the flip side should be, well, then shouldn't the Chargers be better at this over the middle stuff? Especially one I looked at last year, and this wasn't a problem in Justin Herbert's rookie season. He was fine over the middle, just like he was everywhere else. I mean, he was great basically everywhere last year. So why this year has there been a change? Well, for one thing, there has been a different head coach and a different offensive coordinator. And while we all love Brandon Staley, the offense, there's some real issues with this coaching, especially given what we now know about Herbert and really the Chargers offense. And because I'm using Herbert's numbers, but it's an offensive stat, it really is. What are they doing wrong here? So let's start things off with this one. This is a really good example of what I think that you can criticize the coaching staff for. It's going to be a quarters coverage play, and worth noting, it's a 3rd down and long here. So you have to gain basically in, right in that range where we're talking about. You have to gain a play that'll be probably 10 to 20 yards down the field. So what's the game plan here? Quarters coverage is what Denver is playing, which you have a good reason to believe it will be quarters coverage. This is what the Broncos like to do. And the number one critique I have of this Chargers coaching staff is get crossing routes over the middle. You got to do this stuff, and you got to pair the crossing routes with play action, which they don't do as much, in my opinion. This is what you want to see happen. You see the teams that have the most success at these types of plays, it's a lot of teams that will run crossing routes. It's the Vikings. Kirk Cousins has a lot of success with this kind of stuff. Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of success with this stuff. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of success with this stuff. The Chargers just don't do this. This is the game plan that the Chargers have here. You notice a lot of stationary routes, right? Everything's going to a spot and then stopping, which I just don't love as much. I want a route that's going to continue to move so Herbert can kind of just try to time stuff up. That's what I prefer, and it seems like that's what tends to work out better. So watch, Herbert's going to take the snap here, and you see I'm going to circle all 5 eligible receivers. The 2 that I've circled in black are the ones down the field. That's where Herbert wants to throw the football. That's how you can make this play work, how you can make this first down work. Neither one is open. But imagine if they actually had a zone buster designed to beat quarters coverage, and they had someone running over the middle, or they had a go route and then someone running underneath. Then something could potentially work instead of just, hey, go sit down right at the first down marker and hope they don't notice you. Because neither of these guys are open. Keep in mind where Herbert has to throw the football, he would have to throw it over a Denver player. He just can't make that throw. There's not a window there whatsoever. He makes the right decision by not, which means you have one of 3 check down routes to choose from here, so I guess that's good. Herbert weirdly chooses the 3rd most open one. It falls incomplete. But that's kind of my issue with the Chargers, is there's too much of this stuff, which it's kind of understandable, but once you actually start looking at the numbers, you can see how badly they're hurting there, and they're losing points and losing football games, quite frankly, because they don't have this aspect of their game. I think here's the second biggest reason why Herbert and why the Chargers offense have struggled so much over the middle. It's because of stuff like this. The Chargers have 2 really good receivers, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I like them both a lot. They both have a very specific skill set, and that skill set is you put them on an island, one-on-one, they're going to have success, and they're going to get open more often than not. What that skill set isn't is being slot receivers so much. That's just not really where they excel as much. Keenan Allen, I would say better than Williams. He can do it. But what they really could use is a slot receiver. On this play, you have a route where it's going to be Allen on Diggs. Allen just running a route over the middle. And so again, this is the type of situation where this is where you hope Herbert can hit him. Look, right when this play begins, you're going to notice that Allen isn't really that open. There's a bit of separation, but it's not a ton of separation. And that's kind of one of the issues, is they don't really have a guy who can just get that quick separation right over the middle. That's not really where they excel. Even their tight ends, who can be good receiving tight ends, don't really get open with separation. They kind of just, are able to get open on the outside, or will use their size to, get open. So that's kind of another issue, I think, because watch what Herbert's going to do. He tries to fire it in there. It's a really good, play by Trayvon Diggs on that one to get the catch. So I like that a lot by Diggs. But that's another issue where I think they could use just a 3rd receiving option. And that's a big deal that people kind of underrate, but it really matters, is having that 3rd receiver. Because again, they have Mike Williams, they have Keenan Allen, who I want to be very clear, I like them both, but if you had a 3rd option better than, Josh Palmer or Jalen Guyton, I think that they could really thrive a little bit better and be a better, more complete football team. I think Jared Cook was kind of supposed to be that guy, and it hasn't quite been the success that they hoped it would. I think don't go cheap this offseason. Do what you got to do to get a great slot receiver. And finally, like, Herbert doesn't get zero blame here. Herbert's made some just weird decisions on stuff over the middle, and I almost feel like he's like afraid to throw it over the middle, which is not what you want to have happen. And I swear I'm only going to show one example of it, but this happens and happens frequently. But this is a great example where it's a cover 2 man, and you see I've circled 41 for Denver right here. This is just a blown coverage. He's even communicating right now, I think, trying to figure out what the coverage is, because everyone else is going to play man. He is not. Watch, Herbert's going to take the snap right here, and this is open. I get it. There's traffic in front, largely due to another linebacker who's covering the halfback, kind of happens to be in front. I would still like to see Herbert make this throw, and it's kind of these types of plays where he just doesn't make these throws. When there's someone who's kind of open over the middle, he seemingly is a bit more cautious than when someone's open towards the sideline. So that's something that, another coaching thing, tell him to pull the trigger on this stuff a little more. Because instead, he's going to try to run and pick up some yards, and he's not going to do it. So just a bit of a tough play there from Herbert, I think. And that's kind of a lot of, I think those 3 reasons are the main 3 reasons why the Chargers have had success, or had struggled to have success over the middle, despite having a lot of success everywhere else on the football field. So yeah, I find it fascinating. It's a unique situation that the Chargers currently have. I don't think it's a horrible situation. I think there's worse situations you can be in, because you know what you can do. You know how to improve this now. There is a clear issue, so fix that issue, and you'll be a much more complete football team and have a much more complete offense. But I think why you've seen this offense at times just sort of be a bit sporadic is when they're not getting stuff going on the sideline, because you're playing a team in Denver who plays a lot of cover 2, and you can't really get stuff open on the sideline, so you're forced to work over the middle. They're just not that good at that stuff, and they almost intentionally don't work over the middle at times. So something for them to improve upon, and we'll see how they go about it. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.